pod presented by Invesco QQQ, the official ETF of the NCAA. Our friends from Invesco QQQ are back. So is Quinn Ewers is the starting quarterback at Texas. But it's not so easy to just say that now, is it? We've been waiting, circling like vultures for a QB controversy. Quinn Ewers has an entire episode of Fansville, Dr. Pepper, where he talks about no need for a backup. Him and Sheriff Boswell, which I thought was quite bold, courageous of him, considering where we're at right now. Maybe it could have happened. Maybe there is none. Maybe there isn't. But I go to this. Quinn Ewers, 25 of 43, 211, 2 TDs, 1 interception. How many fumbles did he have, Ross?
2, I think.
2.
Manning had 1. He had 2. Dan, why are you always trying to stir the pot?
Because that's it. That's the pot.
We are waiting by the pot with a big old ladle every week.
I wasn't the one who pulled him. Was it my decision to have him take a couple series off and bring in Arch Manning at the end of the first half? And Arch got in there. I mean, it's 2 drives. It's a tough spot to come in. He's far more mobile. It's hard to be not a non-mobile quarterback at this stage of football. I go to the simple point. If Arch Manning had led a touchdown drive, we may not see Quinn Ewers again, right? So there is a precipice here. The fans, that was not good. Texas cannot afford really a loss, or else they're going into the Texas A&M game as a must-win. The schedule has broken badly for the Longhorns. One thing they cannot be blamed for in their current situation is that victories over Oklahoma and Michigan are not worth much anymore, but they look good at the time. And so I don't know. Maybe there's not going to be any. Maybe there will be. But when you have 2 quarterbacks and you have this guy behind it, Pat, what do you think? Did Arch's non-stepping in and dominating do enough that fans are going to be like, and players and everyone's just going to be like, that's it, Quinn, we're in with Quinn? Or is this going to percolate? I mean, there was some crazy report yesterday that was false, but this is kind of what happens. That Ewers was going to turn pro right away. I don't even know.
Where does this stuff come from? Like
engagement,
no
Pat.
sense.
Engagement.
Yeah.
You think I stir the pot? At least I'm not just making crap up. So my Instagram account.
The 24/7 Sports, it came from an Instagram of 24/7 Sports. The 24/7 Sports folks, I think, released a statement saying, Dan, that they were hacked.
Okay.
Someone hacked their site and did that? Okay.
Well, okay. Good try.
Weird.
I will say also, like the number of stuff that was going around after that game. Did you see the alleged text message to Texas students? That was so clearly bogus. It was unbelievable. Saying, you have been identified for throwing trash on, what was it, Texas Longhorns Field, as opposed to calling it Darrell K. Royal Stadium. And it's from an 805 area code. Like somebody from Santa Barbara is taking away your season tickets. Good God. Anyway, to the question at hand, Dan, I think that the sack fumble by Arch tamped down the revolution there. And I think probably Texas fans came out saying, well, whoever was playing quarterback was going to get their ass kicked in that game. And so I think cooler heads probably prevail. But you're right. I mean, going forward with the diminishing room for error for Texas, if there are struggles, I would not be shocked if we see them turn to Arch and throw him in there again in other games. And the schedule is tricky. At Vandy, hey, Alabama lost there. At Arkansas, you want to go in there if you're Texas? They hate Texas there. Florida is looking better. And then the game at the end that you mentioned, A&M, they're in a little bit of a challenge here, the back half of their schedule.
Yeah, I do think, Dan, that it probably tamps down a little bit the Arch hype, especially from the close fan base there that did the students, all those kind of people that you often hear the backup quarterback type of chants from. I think it probably cooled it down a little bit, but I agree with Pat. I mean, I think Sark said after the game, I can't remember the words he used about why he decided to put in Arch, but it was something like trying to give Quinn a break or something, just kind of cool him off a little bit. I don't necessarily buy that. I think, Sark would have probably loved to see his team have success and Arch Manning move the ball. And then if he had, as Dan mentioned, maybe we'd be talking about Arch Manning starting quarterback. Who knows? But he didn't. And, he went kind of 0 for 2 on the drives, on the 2 drives he had, and fumbled, got pressured and fumbled. Just like Texas did all game, it seemed. The same thing happened when Arch was in.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Sark you got to try to win games. And I didn't mind the idea of take a break. Let's see this. Maybe even just a change of pace throws them off. I guess I've been struck at Ewers just not being mobile. And we were discussing this one time, like, this is more NFL, but like, where is Peyton Manning as a draft prospect in today's NFL where he can't move? Now, obviously, Peyton Manning could play in the NFL and be as good as ever, but like the way they pick apart mobility is just so big as a quarterback. There's very few guys that make it without being able to run. And I say this like Jared Goff is doing great for Detroit and maybe, but you have to just be so good. You don't have to be Lamar Jackson, but the mobility aspect of how football is played now at that quarterback spot, and Manning has it he brings another dynamic. And so I don't know. It might be a situation where you got to switch things up based on who you're playing defensively, or what defense you're going against. I don't know, but if I'm Sark, you can't. It's such a tricky spot for a coach. You don't want to create a controversy, but we need to win the damn game. And if that means this guy's better for us for this quarter, then we got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think in that situation, yes, your offensive line's being overwhelmed. So having somebody who could move would be beneficial. And I do absolutely see your point as far as the increased emphasis on having some mobility at the position. When I was at Ohio State in the summer, I mean, one of the things they said is they like Kyle McCord, but he could not move. And Will Howard can. Will Howard is not like a great rusher, but he can run a little. He can scramble, and he can also simply move in the pocket better and roll out and just buy himself a little bit of time as opposed to standing there and getting hit.
Yeah, I don't know. There's one single position on the football field that has evolved more than you might think I'm going to say quarterback, but defensive end or edge rusher, right? Like outside linebacker, edge rusher. They are just freaks. And I think because of that, the quarterback position has evolved into somebody who can move. And that is paramount in probably every level of football. I mean, all the way down to high school.
Yeah, you look back on the old defensive line edge rushers, like the greats, and yes, they'd still be great. Like Reggie White was great because he just would throw a dude around. He was so strong. Now these guys are fit. They are so fast. And so you gotta have that movement. And Texas's O-line, I thought, was the problem the other day. And they couldn't get a running attack going either. But I can imagine the draft discussion of Peyton Manning today.
That is fascinating.
They would rip him to shreds for his poor time. And I'd be like, I don't know that he'd go number 1. I don't know. Like pocket can't move. He'll be okay.
Yeah.
He'll be okay. But that's kind of where you're at. I don't know. I mean, they would just, oh my God, it would just be endless draft discussion of his inability to run, and his 40 would have been like a national news event and all that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. We're gonna see. Anyway, we do know that Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt, he can move. And this game just fascinates me this weekend. Texas is coming in. They're either rattled or they're angry as hell and are going to show up and put it on Vanderbilt. But Vanderbilt's sitting there with their offensive line and their ability to control the ball and saying, "Bring it. It's late October and we're in a big game." Yeah. And they've still got hopes. This Texas at Vanderbilt did not have it on the list of intriguing, like, oh no, this is going to be something. Games.
Well, and you know what? If Texas would have won and beaten Georgia, I'm almost certain that GameDay was going to Nashville for the first time ever and going to broadcast from that game. That was the buzz in Austin. But of course that didn't happen. But it's remarkable that before the season, if you were told that Texas and Vandy would meet as top 25 teams with a combined 3 losses between them in week 9, you'd be thinking the person might be drinking a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. GameDay is going to Indiana, right?
Yeah.
Pat, are you going up to
rarity.
That? What's happening?
I'm not.
Didn't see those. That's their first trip to Indiana.
It is. No, it's not. They've been one other time.
Second trip, right?
Second trip. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, 20-some years ago.
Yeah,
I think they kind of contrived one like 20 years ago for Corso because he used to be the coach.
Okay, they got Washington and coming in. It'll be a circus in there. What are they calling their stadium? The Rock.
The Rock. Right? That's what they're calling
the Rock. I like it. Okay, the Rock.
Here's a little rhyme for you for leading into that game, Dan.
Wait, you're a poet? Poetry?
Oh.
Rapper?
You better
what are you? Spitting rhymes?
We're spitting a little rhyme
MC
for Jed
Pat?
Fish. Jed Fish walking into the Rock. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms heavy, vomit on his visor already, facing Kurt Signetti. You kidding me?
Did you write that?
I did. I mean, Eminem wrote most of it. Eminem wrote most of it.
Mom Spaghetti?
How is Indiana not? Indiana needs to be working with Mom Spaghetti, Kurt Signetti here. I mean, it's sitting there waiting for you. Where are Indiana student creatives?
Yeah, we play bad fan songs all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the guy from Arkansas, I'm sorry, I forgot to bring this up.
Oh, yeah.
We gave him some good pub. It was kind of a parody. He wrote that song based off the lyrics of their hype video. That's why it didn't rhyme.
Okay.
Because this is like a month ago. I forgot.
Apologies.
Yeah, it was a terrible apology. That guy, I can't remember your name off the top of my head, and it was some song. And
yeah, great, good job.
And
I'm going to apologize for the apology later.
Yeah.
That's like, this was a 24. I got hacked. I just got hacked. That's all I can say.
No Curtis Rourke for the Hoosiers, so that'll be interesting. At least for this game, that'll be interesting. Right, thumb injury, and they didn't need him in the second half against Nebraska, though. So
no,
I mean, maybe they don't need him. I don't know.
Well, I think we said Sunday. I mean, they got a good backup, Taven Jackson, starting experience, and was good in the second half against Nebraska. I'm not concerned.
While we're doing performing arts, Ross, your voice, similar voice guy, Matthew McConaughey, the Minister of Culture, MOC McConaughey, has issued a statement on the bottle throwing at Texas. Could you do a dramatic reading in McConaughey voice, which is also your voice? Shouldn't every McConaughey statement begin with "all right, all right, all right"?
All right, all right, all right, all right. You want me to really do this, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think we're going to do here? Talk football?
Yeah. All right. I mean, should I
Just do the first
just,
two graphs.
should I just read it in my own voice?
Yes.
Or
yeah.
should I kind of
Yes.
get a little country
Get a little,
dialect?
little
just a
McConaughey,
little,
little
Just a
bit,
tiny little,
little bit,
tiny little country tweak.
little
Tiny.
twang. All
A
right.
little bit.
Longhorn Nation, and specifically our DKR student section. MOC McConaughey coming at you here. First off, you were electric Saturday night when we hosted Georgia. Bravo. Let's continue to bring it, even though our horns didn't get the W. You created a measurable home field advantage. But let's get to real about the bottle bombing, the field glitch we had.
Glitch.
What? What is that?
A bottle bombing.
Not cool. Bogey move. Bogey move. I haven't read this yet. It's the first reading. Yeah, that call was BS. Oh, wow. But we're better than that. Longhorn Nation knows how to show up, show out like no other, and still keep our class. So going forward, let's clean that kind of BS up and leave that behind us for good. We have to shake hands on that. Next up, November 9th, when the Gators come to town, let's make sure they feel the heat, can't hear the play calls, and burn their timeouts. But remember, nothing hits our field except that Texas fight. Till then, root hard and hook 'em horns, McConaughey.
Minister of Culture. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We've had Eminem and McConaughey already. We're barely into this thing.
Yeah.
Buckle up. Buckle up.
That was a good, you know what? I mean, you already sound like him, and I think you just added just enough of the other elements there. We, a little stoner country vibe.
Mm-hmm. Bogey move.
Bogey move. That's classic. Bogey move.
I wonder what the Texas fans, like the students, think. Has he had like a big movie lately? Like, is he?
Yeah,
I know who he is. What? Yeah, I know.
They know who he is because he's in. Because they're
all born. They were all born in like 2004.
Oh yeah. You get old quick at those colleges, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw a video the other day, and somebody was asking. It was like a TikTok video or something. I didn't see it on TikTok. I don't go on TikTok, but it was posted on Twitter, and some guy was like walking the streets asking, obviously young people, what date do you have to be born in, or before? What date do you have to be born before for you to be considered old? And most of the people he talked to said before 2000.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that makes you feel great.
Go to like a youth sports, like fields, like whether it's a whole mess of baseball fields or soccer or whatever they're playing. And then all of a sudden you'll hear someone be like, 2016's over here. And you're like, whoa, Jesus. Wait, what? It's 2016's. Yeah, they're 7. They're playing.
Yeah.
Do it up. All right. A couple more. The SEC has a couple more interesting games, man. LSU visiting Texas A&M. Not another one we didn't quite have. Other than the opening game loss to USC, LSU has looked pretty good. They got the job done. It's a close one against Ole Miss, but I always say, and this may come back to haunt me, everyone makes fun of Brian Kelly. He's the accent, the antics, the awkward jokes, all of it. The guy can coach football. His teams win. Will he fit culturally? You fit culturally if you get to 7-1. But they go into this A&M team that lost to Notre Dame also. I mean, after the first weekend, you're not expecting this game to be where we're at. But Mike Elko has got his club absolutely rolling, and they haven't lost since, including a really impressive victory over Missouri, 41-10. And they survived Arkansas and different stuff. They won at the Gators. So Aggie fans will tell you we're 4-0 in the league. LSU fans will tell you we're undefeated in the league. Like, everything's right there in front of these two. Pat, thoughts on this one?
Yes, that is now the winner becomes the leader of the SEC. And it's huge stakes. They've played some wild games in the past here. Elko, is probably a couple of victories away from being SEC Coach of the Year, unless Clark Lee keeps winning. But he's done a very impressive job in his first season there. They've had some close scrapes. They were in a scrape against Bowling Green to a degree. They were in a scrape against Arkansas. They didn't bury Mississippi State, but it does kind of remind me of him at Duke, where they did just keep winning, and they're very solid. They play well on both sides of the line. He's won with two different quarterbacks, Connor Wegman when he was healthy. Marcel Reed was a very good backup, and then they went back to Wegman, and he's still getting the job done. So he's just put together a team that knows how to perform, and this is going to be a big spot, though, because LSU, I agree with what you said about Brian Kelly. I mean, that's a dude that just wins, and don't underestimate him. I am very excited for that game.
It's I think just like talked about the Vandy Texas game and not thinking before the season, that would be a top 25 matchup. This game, not thinking before the season that, by late October, that Texas A&M or LSU, would be leading the SEC, and that this game would come down to the SEC lead would, I think, shock quite a bit of people. And probably if you'd have told them that after week one, they'd also be shocked. LSU, Texas A&M each lost their season opener to a non-conference team. Notre Dame came into Kyle Field and won, and then LSU and USC battled in Vegas. It was a tight, good game. But that loss from USC, that loss to USC, continues to look worse and worse as the Trojans lose. But after week one, you'd have been surprised that these teams lose their season opener and then win a combined, I think, 11 games or 10 games between them. So there have been some tight ones for sure. LSU barely escaped South Carolina. They barely escaped Ole Miss. They didn't look great at times against UCLA, even at home. So they've been skating by. They're a resilient group. Texas A&M has been certainly a little more dominant, especially defensively. But yeah, it should be a good one at Kyle Field. It's that place can rock, and it's going to be a night game, I think. That place will be really, really rocking. And this is kind of a rivalry that when A&M came to the league, A&M was LSU's season-ending game. The SEC had pitted those two as to be this rivalry series, and it never took off because Les Miles and then Ed Orgeron just kept beating the crap out of Jimbo Fisher. It was like five, and they won like the 5 or 6 straight games, I think. And Kevin Sumlin was the first coach, obviously, that took over there. But then it started to change the late Fisher years, and then it kind of became intense. You had that multiple overtime game and all that stuff. So this should be a wild one.
74-72 pacemaker punch game.
Yeah, the pacemaker game. I mean, this quote came from this rivalry from LSU. I think it was like assistant analyst, something, but Steve Cragthorpe, who was a head coach. Damn, he got me right in my pacemaker. All-time greatest quotes in college football history. That is wasn't it Jimbo Fisher's nephew or something? Did the
I think so.
Jimbo Fisher's nephew was throwing blows with Kevin Falk or something.
Kevin Falk is going to whoop you. Whoop you.
I wouldn't mess with Kevin Falk. That was not. He didn't look happy. The pictures from that brawl are incredible. I mean, Kevin Falk's like expression and stuff. And then was it that after that game was when Joe Burrow? They had to give Joe Burrow kind of like a emergency fluids in the locker room, and he was like fading, and they had to like pump him up with fluids. And it's crazy.
Incredible interview.
I think he passed out actually in the locker room. Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, that was wild. That kind of jump started this rivalry, and it's kind of been pretty intense.
Well, yeah.
Since then, and it's actually kind of sad in a way that they took it out of the season ending because they wanted to pit A&M and Texas, which I do understand. Right. But they took it out of the season ender. But here we are, right, late October, and it's going to be a huge game.
Incredible quote. Unfortunately, Coach Cragthorpe passed away. So this summer.
Yeah,
in August, early August. Yeah, he was fighting through Parkinson's. Sad situation. His son is still coaching, I think. His son, he's still a coach, college coach. But yeah, he fought Parkinson's until 59 and passed in early August.
Well, he was a good coach. He was at Louisville. He was at Tulsa. He had a really good run at Tulsa too. But yeah, one of the all-time moments in college football history. Probably not how he thought he would, one he would contribute to. So, thoughts are with his family on that. All right, let's go to break, and we'll be back after this. All right, welcome back. Tuesdays we're gonna do a segment called Money Moves. We'll do a little bit on money in college sports. Incredible, right? Might be a little bit. Money Moves is presented by Invesco QQQ, the official ETF of the NCAA. What we wanted to get to this time, Ross, was there was a lot of fines handed out by the SEC last week. Tennessee got fined $100,000 for fans storming the field. Texas was fined $250,000 for fans throwing bottles on the field. And this goes to that little money rule they came up with where the fine goes to the opposing team, correct?
Yeah, they made that change at spring meetings, I think back in May. Pat's written a lot about this issue, the field storming, and they decided that this would be one of the incentives to get schools to protect the field better, and secure the field and prevent field stormings, or at the very least, get the visiting team off the field in the staff before the field is stormed, which did happen at Tennessee. I believe, Pat, you were there, right? Like I think they got them off the field before Tennessee fans came on the field.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Alabama was long gone by the time most of the fans were on the field.
But this is costly. I mean, Dan, you mentioned, so I went ahead and totaled, I think I got them all. So this year so far, I think it's $950,000 have been fined. So right at about $1 million. $250,000 for Arkansas's storming against Tennessee. Tennessee will get that money, obviously. $250,000 for LSU storming in the overtime win over Ole Miss. So that money goes to the Rebels. And then, as you mentioned, $100,000 for Vandy. That will go to Alabama. And then $250,000 for Texas for throwing things on the field. I am uncertain. That's not in the field storming, provision. So I don't think that Georgia gets that money, but I guess I'm not completely sure on that. But the hope is that thinking that your opponent is going to get that money. The thinking is that it would prevent more of this, Dan, from happening. If you do the math, I think I was trying to do it in my head because Tennessee got the $250,000
they're now
from Arkansas, but also cut into that $100,000, which they're sending it to Alabama. Alabama got $100,000 from Vandy, so Alabama's up $200,000. Alabama's up $200,000. LSU and Ole Miss is up $250,000. From the LSU win. So there you go.
I was going to say Vandy. It's like Venmo at the golf club.
We
bet.
Right.
You owe me 100. You owe me 2. Back and forth.
Alabama's paying for 3 new recruiting analysts with that. So that's good for them.
Alabama, being Alabama, is going to get their field stormed every time.
Yeah,
even
they do.
Look at Michigan. I had someone point this out. Michigan, which they asked, is this the worst team to ever be field stormed 2 weeks in a row? It's 2 games in a row, but they got stormed at Washington and then they got stormed at Illinois. The team might end up with 5 wins. But so the Big Ten gets that. Michigan could finally buy themselves a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, Dan, you're aware of the Alabama streak, right? At every Alabama win at an opposing stadium's at an opposing stadium resulted in a field storming since 2010. So 14 straight years, Alabama basically has gone, and every win that they've had at an opposing stadium resulted in a field storming. I think it's 11, maybe straight or something like that. AL.com, Michael Casagrande has been keeping up with that. The last time it didn't happen is when LSU beat Alabama in Tiger Stadium in 2010. But otherwise, Alabama's had the field stormed on them for 14 straight years in any win on the road. It's pretty wild.
That's, you know what? It'll be a true sign of Alabama's decline when they don't get stormed.
Yeah.
Who would not storm? You think Georgia would storm Alabama, or would they go with we're too classy?
I don't know, though. Alabama's tortured them so much. I think they might.
Yeah.
I think they might.
Yeah.
I don't know whether, maybe Texas wouldn't, but.
Texas just, it's true. They were throwing the bottles.
Yeah.
So is it like payment due by Tuesday at noon? You got to wire this in, or do they wait to the end?
I don't know.
Save the bank fees, save the transfer fees.
I don't know. Right. But by the way,
Apple
it's 9
Pay?
straight.
How do they do it?
We're gonna have to find this out. We'll have to
golf
next time we see Greg Sankey, we'll ask him exactly how this transaction works.
Yeah. It is now interesting that there were people in the SEC who wanted something more drastic put in place because they figured that fines are not going to stop the storming, and it hasn't.
No,
it hasn't
not yet. No.
Fans do not care about this. They do not care unless you try to identify who runs on the field and then pursue civil litigation against them.
That's what I was
say.
About
You owe $15 each person, and we saw you, Mary. We see you. Yeah. You're running right there. I don't know.
It's way too hard to
get the team off the field. Is there a stadium where the fans have never stormed?
Good.
I wonder, has Ohio State ever stormed their field?
That's a good question. I would check. Ohio State, Alabama, Notre Dame. No, Notre Dame's probably stormed.
Notre Dame did it against Clemson. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember it was it was during the COVID bit, and everyone flipped out.
Oh yeah, I was there. What am I saying?
Yeah. Texas. I can't remember Texas.
Michigan, I don't think probably did until. Although who knows, back in the 60s, like I said, people were just crazy. Don't listen to your grandparents talk about the college kids today.
Yeah, right.
And they started putting those hedges and moats up and stuff to try to keep these people out. But Michigan is stormed for Ohio State.
Yeah.
But I don't know that Ohio State is ever. I think they just sit back and look down their nose at everybody. Michigan. Now they might do it this year.
Yeah. Right.
They may just be like, we've had it with this Michigan crap. We're going on the field. But until now, I don't recall that happening. But I don't know. That's another. It could be another money move segment. Who's getting fined? Anyway, congrats on Alabama. Great season so far. You're up 200K, 200 large. And plenty more opportunities. Guess what? It could happen again. So good. Yeah. So thank you, Invesco QQQ, the official ETF of the NCAA, for the Money Moves segment. All right. I want to mention this game here. It's Friday night is wild. This Friday night, we have, there's multiple games, and one of them is Rutgers is playing at USC. The game is going to start at 11, but it may go even later. I'm not sure quite how they're doing it. It's on Fox. It's going to be after the World Series. So, Rutgers fan, welcome to your revenue cheer. You get to watch the game that kicks at 11 or later Eastern time. Now, fortunately, the Yankees are in this thing, so I guess a lot of people it's kind of worked out because it's Yankees-Dodgers. So there's some crossover fans in the World Series, but that game is going late. It's going to be on Fox. I don't know whether they'll kick at 11, which is obviously 8 o'clock in the Coliseum, but that one's wild. There's also Louisville, BC, not a bad game. Syracuse, 5-1, is going to play at Pitt on Thursday. That's Thursday night. I'm sorry. Friday, though, Louisville, BC. The Syracuse Pitt game on Thursday is going to be huge in the ACC.
Yep.
And then we have Friday night, Boise State visiting UNLV. They're calling it the biggest home game in the history of UNLV. First place in the Mountain West on the line. And it's maybe one of two. They might have to play again in the Mountain West, but a real because you get to host the championship game in the Mountain West. So inside track a little bit on what's possible playoff berth. Boise, I think, has a chance if they run the table to not just get in as the automatic bid of the Mountain West, but maybe be not the 12 seed. They could potentially be an 11 or a 10 or something. I don't know. Their only loss was close at Oregon.
They would need the Big 12 or ACC champion, or I mean,
I don't even know. I don't think they could get to 4. Yeah, but what about if they're just better than a 3-loss SEC team that gets the 12?
Oh, right. Right. No, absolutely.
They don't have to be 12.
Oh, yeah.
They could be an 11.
They don't have to be 12. Right. They could host a game. They could be 7.
Right. They could be a 7. Yeah. I don't know if they get that high with this schedule, but they certainly don't have to be a 12. Yeah. Boise can either be a 4 if they're deemed better than the Big 12 champ. I don't know that's going to happen, which it's kind of getting less and less as the season goes on.
Because Iowa State and them keep winning,
But they could certainly sit there and be like, hey, man, we're an 11 or 12. So anyway, Pat, do you recall, and this is what this is what we always wanted out of the playoff, but do you recall a more notable and probably more anticipated group of 5 game than this?
No, I do not.
In recent history, there's probably some Army-Navy track.
Maybe like in the day. But no, this is exactly right. This is what the playoff has given us, is a really meaningful, impactful, suspenseful Mountain West game in October. And then there's going to continue to be them. And if there's a rematch in December, that's going to be impactful and suspenseful. And especially by then, you're maybe comparing how's the Mountain West champ look versus the American Athletic Conference champ. Because, boy, there's drama there, too. So this is fantastic. And I'm glad, look, UNLV has done its part by having a great season to get to this point. And Boise's got Ashton Genty. I mean, the thought of that you could win the Heisman Trophy at Boise State, unbelievable. That's right there, perhaps, for the taking. But then the stakes, the playoff stakes beyond that are absolutely tangible. So it's fantastic.
It is. It's exciting. And like Pat said, it is what the expanded playoff kind of gives us on the G5 level, is some really exciting games like this to try to get that bid into the playoff. And like Dan said, basically the G5 team will be either the 12 seed or probably the 10, 11, or 12 seed, the way it's going to map out, or the 4 seed. Right. It's kind of like one or the other. So this is a huge game. I think they're probably 8 G5 teams that are still alive, that have 1 loss or fewer that are still alive for that spot. So you got Army, Navy, Memphis, Liberty, Louisiana, and UL Monroe. They're both at just 1 loss. And of course, Boise and UNLV. So I'm guessing, all those teams, in a couple of those schools play, right? And Boise and UNLV, I'm sure those other schools are rooting for, them to beat each other up, right? Boise maybe wins this round and UNLV wins in the conference championship game. And that would probably knock out the Mountain West champion from a bid potentially, and open it up for another program. I'm going to visit Navy here in a little bit, and there's an interesting possibility there, right? In Army, Navy, and the CFP selection and how that works. I remember we talked about that back in April when the CFP decided on what they decided with the Army-Navy game. And I think a lot of them thought, well, no way that Army and Navy would be undefeated, right? That wouldn't happen. And here we are, where the possibility exists for Army and Navy to play in the American Conference Championship game. Then the CFP would select the potential winner of that game as the G5 participant, and then they would play again in the traditional Army and Navy game. It's awesome. Could be pretty wild. Yeah.
It's classic.
They each play Notre Dame, though, but that's a non-conference game.
Look, Notre Dame versus the United States of America is becoming a storyline here. I mean, Notre Dame is playing Navy this week in the Meadowlands. I'm going to that game. And then they play Army in the Bronx in late November. And I mean, if either of the academies win against Notre Dame, it's going to be amazing. But if both of them win, like, I don't even know what to do. It's going to be preposterous. But there's a long way to go to get there. We'll see how Navy does. And I think Navy's pretty good. I've talked to some people, people in coaching and stuff who really like Navy's quarterback. They think he's not just your, runty option guy. He can really throw too.
Yeah. Yeah, some good games outside of what the TV networks want. This is going to be on CBS Sports Net, but
even by the way,
the spreadsheets say this doesn't matter. Ashton Genty is awesome for Boise State. I'll get to you, Ross. Malik Williams, the quarterback of UNLV, has been great. He was not the $100,000 guy. They saved $100,000, got a great. And Ricky White, their receiver.
Oh my God, love Ricky White,
pro player. So this you watch this game Saturday night. If you've not watched Boise State and UNLV, you're going to see a good level of football getting played. And I would not want to be the playoff team that's just like, we got Mount. Like, this is quality play. There's good play. There's NFL players on this field. So go ahead, Ross.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, piggyback off of Pat's about the Army, Navy, and each play in Notre Dame is, they could both still lose to Notre Dame, right, and get that G5 playoff spot. I mean, all these other schools, these G5 teams, everybody has at least one power conference loss. It's how they lose, right? We saw Boise play tight in a game at Oregon. The CFP selection committee will certainly remember how you played in these games. So I don't know that anybody expects you to really win, but can you hang in there enough to give the CFP selection committee, to give yourself that extra kind of boost when the CFP selection committee is kind of ranking all of the G5 champions and how they stack up?
What is Miami going to try to do to Florida State this weekend?
Watch this game be really close or something,
Well, the one thing I will say, look, Miami has been playing with its food a bit lately, right?
Yeah.
Their last three games, they won by 5, they won by 1, they won by 7. Now, they had a little more cushion than that against Louisville. They actually played pretty darn well against Louisville, I thought. But they're not just trucking teams. But if you can truck Florida State, it seems entirely possible and reasonable to be able to truck Florida State. And they will if they can.
Yeah, no mercy when it comes to arch rivals or whatever. I think they're arch rivals.
Oh yeah.
And recruiting turf and in state and you're 1-6. Sorry, we're 7-0.
Yeah.
And they'll have every recruit in the state of Florida down there in Coral Gables or wherever, and up in Miami Gardens at least. That is going to be a wild one in the ACC. Like I said, the big game is actually Syracuse Pitt on Thursday night.
Yeah.
I love we're getting Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Quality games on both of them. Let's take a break, come back, got a couple more things, and we'll find a People's Court or something. Interesting little story out of the Mid-American Conference. MAC-tion. Saturday is the first time that Bowling Green and Toledo, the I-75, is it the battle for I-75?
I think it is.
They're separated by like 20 miles of an interstate.
It's a lovely stretch of road up there.
Beautiful stretch of road. If you like diners and huge trucks and
flat land.
Yeah. Boy, you're making it sound so enticing.
Yeah. Holiday Inn Expresses and stuff like that. It's gorgeous.
The old La Quinta Inn, Motel 8.
There's some definite La Quintas. Now, Toledo Bowling Green is the big rivalry. Now, in the past years, because of MAC-tion, ESPN has taken all these games and put all of you play at the end of the year, right? Your arch rival, but they play on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, right? And it's usually cold as hell in Northwest Ohio on a Tuesday night in late November. So the game has lost its appeal, and they did all of this for what's essentially $1 million per school. So there's been a lot of pushback on it. including Dave Briggs, the Toledo Blade, great columnist, Toledo Blade, has been all over this, and the MAC has pushed back, and campus leaders and all of that. But you want a rivalry game to be it's going to be it'll be a beautiful day on Saturday in Northwest Ohio, and they're going to play at 3:30 at the Glass Bowl, and they're going to get a great crowd. There's actually a debate on whether Toledo's not going to let Bowling Green's band perform at halftime.
Little controversy. They got something else going on. Now, the band is allowed to be at the Glass Bowl. They can play all they want, but they're not going to get on the field at halftime. Only Toledo's band. We got some rivalry. It's going to be picnics, the whole thing. Everything you want out of college football that isn't the television executive spreadsheet, because they're going to finally play it on a Saturday when the weather is still nice. And they've done this also with, I think, Akron and Kent, Ohio and Miami, Ohio, and Central Michigan and Western, that these are the games you can attract your alums, you get your students fired up, you create a little bit of excitement around town, and you have a great thing. And it's not just TV. And as Briggs points out, like 3 of the last 4 times these two have played this supposedly important rivalry game for MAC-tion, they put the game on ESPNU. Like, it wasn't even like on ESPN2 or whatever again. And those are just, MAC-tion is basically the hardcore fan and gamblers, which is fine. You got to do what you got to do. But Pat, how excited are you that they're bringing some of the rivalry games back to a better spot? Yeah, I think it's great. This is serving your fan bases, and we're seeing a lot of conferences and universities and networks do the exact opposite to their fan bases, relocating them to conferences where they have no geographic proximity, where they have no tradition, where they have no rivalries. 11 p.m. kickoffs, 9 a.m. kickoffs for West Coast teams playing noon games in the middle of the Midwest or the East. This is actually serving your fans. So I think it's fantastic. I hope they get great crowds. I hope there's continued jawing over the band situation and whether or not Bowling Green's band gets to march. But the MAC has been the one conference that hasn't really screwed itself up, maybe just because they don't have the juice to screw themselves up. Like, if they could go get Louisiana, Lafayette, and Monroe to join the league, maybe they would. But I'm thankful that they haven't, that they have just stayed pretty contiguous. Now, they are adding UMass, which kind of doesn't make sense. But that's a lesser crime, I think, against both geography and tradition. So I like the move. I like John Steinbrecher and the league listening to the people and their universities and saying, hey, let's play these games when our people can go.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for the fan bases locally there that attend the games and your season ticket holders, and those are the people that matter most. It's not as good for us, right? We would like it on a midweek where we could just focus on it and watch it from a national perspective. But those are the people that matter, that contribute to the universities, and it's better for them certainly to have it on Saturday when they can all go attend and spend money.
Yeah. What's the purpose of a football program? It's all of these other things, not just can we get TV revenue. And when you're not really getting that much anyway, granted, I understand $1 million is a lot for these schools, but they'll get a nice gate. They'll get parking. They'll have, and if you're a prospective student or you're a student there or whatever, it's good for that whole environment. So, and it kind of works out nicely. Ohio State, I think, is playing at noon, and then Michigan and Michigan State are playing at 7:30. So, like, Toledo kind of is either, it sits right on the border of Ohio and Michigan. Like, those are their fan, like it's got a little window of like our game, right? And comically, CBS Sports Network, it took Ohio versus Buffalo instead as their game instead of this one.
Okay. But no, I mean, if you are a student there, say you're from Detroit and you've gone to Toledo and your parents like, hey, we want to come down and see this game. Hey, we'll come this weekend. We've got a big football game, as opposed to, oh, we're playing Bowling Green on Tuesday. Oh, we can't come on Tuesday. We work, Right. I mean, it's easier and better for families to come and see that campus and see where their kid is, or prospective students to see it.
Yeah. Do it up. So All right. We're a podcast that is we are on the side of love, right? Relationship advice we give often. We're all for it. But I got to say, this is an interesting one because I think we've all seen this at the airport. Anyone who's been at the airport, sometimes, you have somebody leaving, perhaps on a long trip or a short, I don't know what, but there's a lot of public display of affection between couples at the airport sometimes. And
Yep.
an airport in Wellington, New Zealand is fighting back. They're fighting back on the bit, and they have put up a sign at the airport and set a new rule. The rule says the max hug time at the airport is maximum time you're allowed to hug somebody at the airport is 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Okay.
So if one person
seems
is
long.
leaving, I agree.
Like 3 minutes for one person?
Yeah.
Two people. Well, two. You can hug yourself.
Well, no, I mean like one hug. Yeah, one singular hug. You can hug yourself. You can hug yourself.
I don't want to get into that. What's happening in them? I don't want to know about that.
Oh,
Let's just
man.
let's pretend that didn't
But
come.
3 minutes for a single hug is insanely long. Yeah, I don't understand.
Well, they love each other. They're very sad. They're partying.
But maybe it's multiple hugs over a 3 minute span of multiple family members. I mean, that would make sense. Maybe.
You know what? The sign literally just says max hug time 3 minutes. It has two people hugging in the sign. Okay.
The sign actually has people hugging.
Well, it's like a drawing of two people.
Just in
Hugging.
case we didn't know what hugging looked like.
Yeah.
You can only do this for 3 minutes. Thanks.
3 minutes
All right.
hugging. Yeah, I mean, it really is one of the first things, right? You're like parents hug you when you're a child. However, there is a clause for fonder farewells. That's how they describe it. For fonder farewells, if the 3 minutes is not enough for you to say goodbye, please use the car park.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
For fonder farewells, please use the car park. Now, you just turned the car park into something that is not. What? Don't come a knocking with the Chevy is rocking.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Don't give them any ideas, Wellington Airport.
Yeah.
See, I
The
get the
last
feeling
thing I
that
need-
people already had ideas, and that's what they're trying to discourage here.
This now reminds me of the Seinfeld episode, the Jiffy Park, where they're turning tricks in the cars in the parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I suspect there's been some aggressive hugging going on there, perhaps, and that's why they're trying to tamp down on that already. So,
What are these New Zealanders doing, man? Come on. That baggage claim, I don't need to see that. 3 minutes.
I will say, obviously we all probably travel a lot, and fly a lot. The making out sessions in the line to when you pull up to the airport, like the all that, like they need a sign for that.
That's what I think that's what they're saying.
Yeah, keep that in the car. Not even that. Just do it before you leave for the airport at your home. Make out
or
there.
the car park.
Right? Don't make out. Don't even make out in the car because you're slowing down, backing up traffic, and certainly don't make out. Outside of the car, you're slowing down, and also we don't want to see all that.
You're apparently on the side.
Ross
you
is
should be
anti-romance and pro-efficiency here.
We don't want to see that. No.
Well, you should connect through Wellington, New Zealand Airport then, because you will be spared.
Yeah.
The cuddle cap, according to the AP.
Cuddle cap.
Go ahead, Pat. What were you going to say?
Well, no, I have major questions about enforcement here.
Let me try to answer some of them if we can.
Cuddle cap.
The cuddle cap. That's what the AP called it.
They're capping the cuddle.
3 minutes. You had 3 minutes to cuddle in September. The airport said is to, quote, keep things moving smoothly.
Yeah.
Dan DeBono of the CEO of the airport, but they've been summarily ripped by the locals. We were accused of breaching basic human rights And how dare we limit how long someone can have a hug for? Others, however, have been on their side. There are also airports supposedly in Britain that will impose a fee if the drop off. So that's almost now we're paying for it. Now we're paying for it. That's a whole new.
It's like a field storming fine. You have to decide if it's worth it.
Bono said that 3 minutes is plenty of time to pull up, say farewell to your loved one, and move on.
Yeah.
The time limit is really a nicer way of saying. It's not really
like one singular hug. It's talking about the whole process of goodbye, I guess.
They also studied this. 20-second hug is enough to release the well-being boosting hormone and oxytocin and serotonin. They studied science, Pat. Science.
This went deep.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Anyway, enforcement, honor system. We do not have hug police, DeBono said.
Okay.
Leave room for the Holy Ghost. That's what they used to say at the
right.
Catholic school dance.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was wondering. I mean, you really going to pay people to like rove around with a stopwatch? Okay, they've started hugging.
Shot clock. Get the clock.
Yeah, right. Then you come up and like tase them if they, they're still hugging.
Taser. That's what I was thinking. Taser is a good one. I'd like to tase some of these people at Reagan Airport here in DC when I pull up and they're taking forever and they're making out against their Chevy Malibu. Move on, go.
That's just the senators and their interns, isn't it? Isn't that just
oh boy,
Dan, don't play into the stereotype
I'm
whether
sorry.
it's true or not.
I'm sorry. Let's not insult our elected officials. I've been watching commercials. They're all trying to poison me, kill me.
Oh, yeah.
Every one of them.
2 weeks, Dan. 2 weeks.
I will say,
wait.
The big day.
Interesting, Dan, with that comment. Now, I had a politician who listens to the show who hit me just like 3 days ago. That Dan Wetzel really is a cynic, isn't he? Oh, really? No, he hadn't noticed.
Just started listening. Yeah.
I'm not the one banning hugs down there in New Zealand. Cynic. I'm on the side of romance in Wellington. I don't know about that. At least it's an honor system. It's just basically a reminder. Let's go.
Okay.
I think the hug is all right. The kissing, I don't know.
Yeah. I want to put up a sign myself in the Reagan and the arrivals. I guess it would be departure. The departure lane in just says no kissing. Right, $1,000 fine.
Puritan Ross.
Well, you could be like Crime Stopper. You could turn to your fellow passenger.
We've tapped into a little anger here in Ross on this.
Yeah, Ross is really he's loving Wellington Airport.
It just
anyway
slows
careful.
down.
I will say I would actually love to see a reality series on stupid airport people because there are so many of them everywhere.
Oh man.
I was hearing the other day from a friend who was traveling about somebody who was walking around FaceTiming in O'Hare while eating corn on the cob.
Oh, the
like,
FaceTiming
that's not a good,
too.
Yeah.
Where do they get corn on the cob at the airport? They're selling that.
I don't know.
This is not a Housewives episode. Please turn your FaceTime off and use the phone properly. Now you've really hit a nerve here now.
I don't know.
Because the things I see in the airport and, flying once a week or so, it's just, it's brutal.
I used to think bowls, they shouldn't allow bowls where the rice bowl and they're eating they're in the seat next to you and stuff's flying everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think corn on the cob, that might be the most disgusting thing someone can eat. And I got nothing against corn on the cob, but you can't eat that. Like
that's pretty bad. Yeah,
and where's the cob going?
Well, also when you bite into it, everything spews
everywhere.
No, it's not a well-contained food.
No,
16E's got corn on the cob. Like what?
Yeah. And it's getting on 11F. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the worst airport food imaginable. And to be eating it while FaceTiming, no, that's major foul.
Oh yeah, that person's going to FaceTime right up to the Sir, we
sounds
said
like we need to go through a top 10 of airport
off-season.
fouls and make we need to make a ranking. Come back to us January. We'll have it ready.
All right, thanks for watching and listening. We'll be back later this week. We'll pick all the games. More talk Thursday. Share us on social media, subscribe, and thanks again to Invesco QQQ, the official ETF of the NCAA. Talk to you later.